Well, we're in our year of Jubilee. We're talking about living the Christ life. And we're doing a little three-part mini-series this week called Tapping into the Invisible, the unseen spiritual world that's inside of us. For 7 years at our church, we've been learning about God's unconditional love for everyone, the Trinity's obsession for community with everyone, and their forgiveness of anything and everything, past, present, and future, that could negatively affect our community with them, pure grace for everything and everyone, and then universal acceptance and inclusion of everyone. Now, those of us who've been on this journey for about 7 years now are pretty solid on those 5 core tenets of authentic Christianity. So now in our year of Jubilee, we're majoring on living out those tenets so that we can give grace and love to everyone we come in contact with, living out the Christ life. However, there's a real challenge to being able to do this. There's one major thing that can hinder us, but that challenge can be overcome as easily as flipping a switch. So we're going to learn about that this week. Today, we're first of all going to see where we get every possible thing that we need for living out the Christ life. I'm going to give you one word in this series this week that will absolutely make the biggest difference of all in your life that you could ever imagine. I'm serious, and I think you'll agree with me. All right, listen now. Recently, we learned how the Apostle Paul helped not yet believers in Greece start to believe. Here's what he said to them 2,000 years ago, a group of people who'd never heard of Jesus. Acts 17:28, he said, "In Christ we live and move and have our being, for we are also God's offspring." He said that to people who've never heard about Jesus. And it's absolutely imperative for you and I to see for ourselves. We've got to get this ourselves before we can help somebody else see that we're already in Christ. We know this key verse, Colossians 1:27. Christ is in you, the hope of glory. You are in Christ right now, today. You can put your name there. It's true. You live and move and have your being in Christ. Christ is in you. Whether or not you know that or whether you've even heard of Jesus before today, you can say, in Christ I live and move and have my being. Christ is in me. Now, listen, the problem is we've been in the dark about that. Most of us haven't known that. I was a pastor for 60 years before I knew that. Many of us have had what's called a dualistic mindset. We believe that we're here and God is over there. We're right here and God is up there somewhere or over there or out there. Dualistic simply means separate. It's an either or thing. We're here, God's over there. We're not in God, God is out of us. Something like that, in and out. Two opposing principles. Now, most of us have had the concept of praying that we would pray in our minds to God who we think is somewhere else, out there. And we've asked him to come in and be present with us, to speak to us, to heal us, to fix us. And we thought if we speak loud enough or long enough or get enough other people to pray to or do enough right things, then maybe he'll hear us because he's out there somewhere and we got to do something to get him to hear us and bless us. We thought many times that we lack something. We don't have something. But of course, God, he's got abundantly everything. So from somewhere out there, if we ask God, he can give us what we lack. Well, that is dualism. That's two separate opposing things. I want you to look at some verses with me. We're going to look at 4 or 5 verses in Colossians chapter 1 from the Mirror translation. Starting with Colossians 1 verse 5. Paul says, heaven, the spiritual realm, is the limitless reservoir of your expectation. The announcement of the goodness of God is not far-fetched or too good to be true. The word you heard is absolutely true, Paul says. We've had this dualistic mindset that we're here and heaven's up there, God's there, and we'll get there someday. And actually, I found out that the 3 biggest lies of religion are separation between us and God, distance between us and God, and delay. Those 3 lies foster dualistic thinking in us. We're here, God's there. We're separated from God. We're here, he's over there somewhere. God's far away. You ever feel like you're far from God? Well, you may feel that way, but it's not true. We've believed we're here, God's in heaven, we're on our own now, maybe he can help us a little bit. Well, one day, someday, in the sweet by and by, we'll be with him later on in heaven. Delay. But that's not true either. Right now, Paul says, in him we live and move and have our being. There is no dualism, no separation, no delay, no distance. Heaven, the spiritual realm, is the limitless reservoir of our expectation right now. You and I actually have access to the spiritual realm right now. Now, we've learned in the last few months that having expectations of other people is an invitation to disappointment, but that's not true with God. The limitless reservoir of your expectation, the spiritual realm, is already in you. You have it. No separation, no distance, no delay. Now, listen. Do these words just seem like spiritual gobbledygook to you? Something that the Apostle Paul says all the time, but you have no idea what it means? That's the way I felt for about 60 years. Or have you received the revelation that in Christ you actually live and move and have your being today? Christ is in you. God himself in the spiritual realm is not out there, up there, or something for the next life. It's right now available in you. Verse 6 of Colossians 1 says, the word resonates within you, and its appeal is prevailing in the whole world. The harvest is evident everywhere and gaining ground, as also witnessed in your own experience from the moment you heard and understood the true implication and the relevance of his grace. All right, listen. The word resonates within you right now. What you're hearing, my words right now, resonate within you. And it's starting to, God's truth is starting to resonate with little groups of people all over the world. This is a revolution movement, a revelation movement that's just continually gaining ground. Verse 6 of Colossians 1 says, you have known, this is the second part of verse 6, you have known, that's true in your own experience, from the moment you heard and understood the true implication and the relevance of his grace. Listen, you already hear this and understand it, and it resonates with you. Verse 11 says, you are already empowered in the dynamic of God's strength. His mind is made up about you. He enables you already to be strong in endurance and steadfast in joy. Listen now. Let the Spirit of Christ reveal that to you. Listen to him. Right now, this very moment, you are already empowered by the dynamic of God's strength. Grace is the divine empowerment right now to be all that God has called you to be today. He enables you right now to be strong and to endure and to stand firm with his joy. He enables you to not worry, to forgive, to love, to not judge. He does that in you right now. You don't have to ask for strength or for endurance or joy. He's already enabling you. Now, we're going to look at some more reasons of why we don't know that, don't believe that, why we may not yet have the revelation of that. Verse 13, God rescued us from the dominion of darkness, the sense-ruled world, dominated by the law of performance, and relocated us into the kingdom where the love of his Son rules. Darkness is not a force. It's an absence of light. A darkened understanding veiled the truth of our redeemed design from us. And in the Mirror translation, which I've just been reading from, he takes us to 2 Corinthians 4, verse 4. What empowered darkness was the lie that we believed about ourselves. We were confused about who we are until the day that we heard and understood the grace of God in truth, as in a mirror. Every one of us were in the darkness, the dominion of darkness, the world system. That's where we get our information from our five senses, what we see and hear and feel and touch and taste, what we see going on around us in the world. It seems true because we see it and we hear it over and over again, and we can even touch it. But what is actually true is in the spiritual realm, the unseen realm, and we are also in that realm. When we look at what we see physically, what we've heard, what seems right, we think it's true. But it's actually not. It's true for the moment, but it's temporary, and it's fleeting, and it will soon be gone. We don't have to believe what we see. We don't have to believe how things appear to us to be. 2 Corinthians 4:18. we do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. All right, we're going to finish part 1 now of tapping into the invisible, unseen realm. I hope you'll meditate on this verse, 2 Corinthians 4:18, between now and part 2 of our little 3-part mini-series this week. Next time, we're going to start to learn how to actually tap in to the unseen. Thanks for watching.